I remember the sound before the words, the shuffle of papers, the click of the lawyer's pen, the small exhale he didn't mean for anyone to hear. Then her voice, smooth, rehearsed, dripping entitlement. "We already divided everything," my aunt announced. "You weren't invited for a reason." The room went still. Like, comment, and subscribe Huna Stories for more stories. The lawyer frowned, adjusted his glasses, and glanced at me. "But her name," he said carefully, "is the only one in the will." Silence, heavy, surgical, the kind that cuts through fabric and bone alike. They looked at me then, the cousins, the aunts, the men who'd never once said my name with respect. Their faces fell one by one, as if gravity finally remembered them. That was the moment, the quiet collapse I'd waited 3 years to witness. When my mother died, they called me the outsider. I was the one who moved away, studied too much, didn't visit enough. They'd always treated my mother like a guest in her own family, and me like her shadow. After her funeral, they smiled at me through grief and teeth, promised to handle things. I was too numb to care. I signed what they gave me, trusted them, believed that family in loss becomes honest. How stupid. The estate was my mother's life, her house, her art, the land she'd inherited from her father. They told me there was nothing left for me, just debts, they said, and I believed them, until I found the letter. It was 6 months later. I was clearing out boxes from her old study when I found an envelope, unopened, buried beneath a stack of unpaid bills. My mother's handwriting, my name on the front. Inside, a copy of her last will, signed, notarized, leaving everything to me. I remember sitting there, the room dim, air thick with dust and betrayal. I read it again, slower, every word sharpened into purpose. They hadn't just stolen money, they'd stolen her last word, and that was unforgivable. Grief had made me quiet. Betrayal made me precise. I didn't confront them, not yet. Rage demands release. I gave mine a plan. I spent months tracing their paper trail, property transfers, forged signatures, bank accounts that suddenly swelled after her death. I found the lawyer who handled the estate, retired, living comfortably on hush money. Like, comment, and subscribe Huna Stories for more stories. I let him think I was naive, invited him for coffee, listened more than I spoke. By the end of that meeting, I had everything I needed: copies of falsified documents, timestamps, and a confession he didn't realize I'd recorded. Still, I waited, because revenge isn't about speed, it's about symmetry. I refiled the will quietly through a new lawyer, one who understood discretion and strategy. Every move was surgical, hidden behind legal language and quiet emails. Meanwhile, I kept visiting them. Birthdays, holidays, smiling through gritted teeth, watching them spend what they thought was theirs. The new car, the renovations, the charity gala in my mother's name. Every handshake felt like holding a snake. When the court finally approved the reopening of the estate, I didn't tell them. I let the summons arrive at their door like ghosts of the truth. Their calls came fast, desperate. I ignored everyone. And when they finally agreed to a family meeting with the lawyer, my lawyer, I wore my mother's locket and a calm smile. The air that day was thick with perfume and denial. My aunt sat closest to the lawyer, her fake pearls reflecting light like lies. "We already divided everything," she said, rehearsed, brittle. "You weren't invited for a reason." She said it like a queen announcing exile. The lawyer paused, adjusted his tie, and looked directly at me. "But her name," he said slowly, "is the only one in the will." My aunt's smile faltered first. My cousins blinked, confusion spreading like ink in water. The lawyer slid the papers across the table, the original will, authenticated, sealed. "Mrs. Hale," he said, his tone firm, "now you'll need to account for the assets you've transferred. Fraud on an estate is a criminal offense." No one moved. Her hands trembled. "This is a mistake." I leaned forward, calm, precise. "No," I said, "it's justice. 3 years late, but still on time." In the weeks that followed, they tried everything: threats, pleas, emotional appeals. But the law doesn't forgive forged signatures, and the court doesn't sympathize with thieves. They lost everything: houses, accounts, reputation. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. Watching them unravel was enough. I restored the house, kept her art where she'd left it, and let the silence return. One evening, as I stood by her portrait, I whispered, "They said I wasn't invited, but you always knew I'd come back." The air felt lighter, the shadows softer. Some say revenge consumes you. Maybe, but mine fed me. And as I left the room, the words I'd waited years to say finally found breath. Everything's been divided now, just as it should be. Thanks for listening. Like, comment, and subscribe Huna Stories for more stories.